Hello. This is going to be an interesting talk because I guess I'm going to talk about similar things that you've just heard, but I'm much less qualified to talk about them. So this is the Pomgmortem, which is a very clever wordplay, a combination of Pomg, which is a game I made, and postmortem. Just to be clear, the game is not released yet. It's not actually a postmortem. I submitted the talk when I was developing it, and I hoped it would be out right now, but it's not, and we're going to talk about that. Yay. We're also going to talk about me, about the history of Pomg, and the development of Pomg is going to be the main part. What went wrong, what I learned, and the future. So, my name is Josh, 22 years old. I cannot code or make art well. I use visual scripting to make my games. Looks like this. Please don't strangle me, programmers. And my art is functional, but not very interesting. That's why I make lots of games and prototypes, because I try to make interesting stuff that is unique and catches attention, not because it runs at 60 FPS or because it looks gorgeous, but because it has a nice idea, solid design, and it's just fun to play. That's what I'm aiming for. One of the games I made is Pomg. What is Pomg? It's a video game, and it's based on table tennis by Magnavox, which released the first home console in 1972. It looks like this, might look familiar. Atari stole that game. And yeah, you have two pedals on the left side and the right side, each controlled by one player, and a ball in the middle. If the ball exits the screen, you get a point. But in Pomg, you play the ball. That's the big difference. That's the pitch or whatever, which looks like this. So you only have one button. When you exit the screen, you go out of the game. It's gonna loop forever. It's a very short GIF, I'm sorry. So there's this whole world behind the pedal, and that's what Pomg all about. And you have only one button, so when you press the button while you're going down, you're gonna go up. If you press the button while you're going up, you're gonna go down. If you hit a wall, you're gonna change direction on the x-axis. So it's very simplistic and simple, but it's not easy to make. I made the Flash version, of which you just saw a GIF, in 2 weeks in 2017. It was a pretty popular web game, and I never thought about it again after I released it, until at the Reversed Festival 2017, I met someone who worked for Syndicate, which is a publisher from Spain, and he said I should send him a demo. I did, and they signed me, and the development started, which was not perfect. It was really not perfect, and I'll break it down step by step, and it's going to be very confusing and incoherent, just like the development. So version 0.1 had 3 levels, non-linear level design, introduced lots of new concepts quickly. So you had like spikes, you had moving spikes, you had save points, you had spikes that follow you, lots of different stuff introduced very quickly, one after the other. I went with that to a maze, Johannesburg, in South Africa, where it got a great reception, met cool people who said smart things, sometimes even about the game, and I learned a lot there. And I won an award, so I was very hyped. And I went home, and of course I started to make a Pomg theory instead of developing the game, actually. So I sat down with pen and paper and wrote down what parts the game consists of. And it consists of input. Again, it's only one button, so it can only be pressed, it can be released, or it can be held down. There's the position of the ball, which can overlap another object, it can collide with another object, or it can exit another object. Then there's the limited movement in 2D space, which I'd like to talk about more, but there's not enough time. And if you combine that with standard video game interactions like saving, dying, respawning, activating buttons and stuff, you get a theory of a game. You don't get a game, sadly. So the Pomg first try took like 5 months to develop, not consistently, but like in bursts. I'm very bad at consistency. So the first version of Pomg was 2 hours long. It had 3 different worlds. Centered around one core mechanic each. Very few concepts, because I thought if I have reduced controls, I have to also reduce the amount of concepts and explain them very thoroughly and go through every concept in as many stages as possible. I was very proud of that. I sent it to a publisher, who sent it to a good developer, who I forgot to ask if I can name in this talk, so he's a good developer. And the good developer said it's shit, it's really not good. Why? Because there's not enough variation. Basically, you're playing through the same mechanics, the same 10 mechanics for 2 hours, you're doing the same thing over and over again. Every challenge is basically the same, and it's way too hard. So, yay, the second version of Pomg starts after that. Deadline got pushed back. Big disappointment for me. Second try, I don't know what I did there. There's lots, like I restarted the project a lot of times from scratch, just made a version, made a new camera system, scratched it, made a version, reworked the save system, scratched it, like lots of iteration over nothing in the end. And then in that process I also did some experiments, which stuff like this here, where you have like obstacles that you can fill, basically. I would spend a long time in this one single room just prototyping mechanics. So if you go through one of these blocks and then leave the area of the blocks, they become solid. And that enables insane amounts of puzzles. And it's really cool. And I never made levels with it. I just made it and was like, ah, that's nice. Then there's golf with one button in a Pomg game. I don't know. I was really proud of that. Then later in summer, I spent like at least a month making levels for that until I realized it's not fun. Cool. This is Guitar Hero with one button. So you switch lanes. Great. Impossible to fit into like a smaller level. Again, was cut. That's not working. This is Morse code, where if you hold down the button, you do a longer beep, which you can use to unlock doors, which is super cool and fun. Not really. This is the rocket, which ended up costing me a month of my life, this fucking thing. Because to control the rocket, you have to hold down the one button you have to rotate. So you never do that with anything else. So when you get the rocket, you're confused. You're out of the flow. In the middle of the game, there were like 3 levels based on this thing. And it didn't work. It felt horrible. And it was a lot of wasted time. Also, it's very hard to control, again. And this is nice. Some aspects of this are actually in the game, where you can like collect stuff and then you turn into like a wall and you cannot touch where you went again. That's cool. Great. So like, how many GIFs did you just see, and how many of those are actually in the game? That's not a good quote. So I was doing this. I was just experimenting forever, not making anything. Then there was a deadline for a festival. I quickly made the first 3 levels. Went to the button in Graz here. 20% of the content I wanted to have in the game done, with lots of new mechanics, which got great reception. People loved it. People played it for like 40 minutes and then came back to play it again and like gave me great feedback. It was really cool. So I went home and I did nothing. Yay! And then I went to Reboot in Croatia. Thanks to the publisher for always sending me to festivals, even though I'm lazy as fuck. So there, with the same 3 levels as I had at Button, I got great reception, great feedback by very smart people who I admire. And I went home and did nothing. And some more nothing. And then I had 20% of the content done, missed 4 deadlines. Got in the final deadline, I was like, oh, panic. No, I did nothing for another week or something. Then I started to work, 4th try or something. I don't know which version I'm at this point, to be honest. So I got an office at Rabite, a local company. I got like a table, I rented it. It's really, really good. That's the reason I got to finish the game, to be honest. I made lots of content for the game, like a lot. Like all of the experiments you see, this was the time that you saw. This was the time when I was making them into levels and experimenting and rewriting their code. It took a lot of time. And I finished in time for the final deadline. Yay! And I had a game. And the 4th try of Pomg had at least 4 hours of content, was overflowing with mechanic, was not playtested at all, because I had to spend all my time making mechanics and levels. It was probably way too hard, but I had no way of knowing that, because I never tested it. Then I went to GameDev in Barcelona. The same developer who 6 months ago told me the game was shit, played it again, said it was better, but still shit. Why? It was way too hard, it was not coherent, and it didn't bring the lots of mechanics it introduced to any conclusions, or just abandoned them for new ones. And so I had like a big mess with lots of stuff that didn't fit together. So, wait, oh yeah, and also the game was depressing. Like, what? Depressing? Oh yeah, I realized when I started to make the game, almost 9 months ago, I wanted to make something that was sad and that you wanted to escape out. And I wanted to do that, and then I forgot about it, and just went on making the game, and didn't realize that the game was actually really depressing and it wasn't fun to play. So I achieved my goal, but I didn't really think about what I would do with a commercial game that makes you sad and want to quit. I mean, it's an interesting concept, but it's not perfect. Whoops. I forgot about the people who will play the game, actually, because at this point it was just about theory. I was making levels so quickly, I was trying to come up with like theories of level design. I was making it, modeling it after song structures, where you would have like an introduction, and then you have like a chorus and a bridge and the chorus again, and I was like making great graphs and drawing a lot of stuff again, but actually, yeah. not using that theory. It was only about like, how do I make this as smart and design cool or whatever as possible. I never thought about the people who would have to play it. So that's not a festival, that's a time in my life. It's called Crunch in Graz. It was really shit. But again, thanks to Arbeit for making it at least not next to my bed, where I would just sleep otherwise. So I removed a lot of mechanics. I reworked 80% of the content, finished the game, missed the final deadline by about a week, which is why the release was pushed back again, and it's not done because I was too slow or too stupid before. Causing the release to be pushed back once more. So the final version, after pretty much 1 year of development, is done. Yay. So the final version is switching between linear and non-linear level design, so I basically combined the two polar opposites I had before. A medium amount of mechanic, again, like a middle way between the extremes I had. 4 to 6 hours of gameplay, depending on like how often you die. And it's an okay game, I think. I don't know, I cannot really judge it, but it's done. So what went wrong? Lots of stuff went wrong. So I had bad planning. I never really thought about deadlines as something that you would actually have to reach, where you would have to present a coherent product, but more as like an incentive to make some levels or something. I didn't test enough. I think in the talk before, there was a lot of talk about that. So yeah. And I had too much theory. I spent days, weeks, months writing just papers and making graphs and stuff, never making any levels. Also, I'm bad with money, which caused some stress and some serious anxiety and some really shitty things, which is shit. So be good with money, or I don't know, don't make games. And I had crazy expectations. So I was thinking it's going to be this big thing and it's going to be great. And then, like every 6 months, I had that confidence crushed, which was healthy because the game actually got better for it, in my opinion. But these expectations are something that I'll definitely manage more in the future. What I learned out of this experience, lots of, I'm gonna go through the fast. How long? Okay, sorry. So I learned consistency is hard. Consistency is hard and important. Money is hard. Making games is hard. Communication is hard. And if you don't do it at all, you will suffer needlessly. Playtesting is super important. Do it all the time or perish. Communities are amazing, thanks to GameDev Graz and all the people on the internet who talk to me. Going outside is good, and if you don't do it, you will suffer. It's impossible to judge your own game before release or before a lot of time passes, which is why I have no clue what I actually made. I can just talk about how it was not fun to make it. I learned a bunch of other stuff. What's my future going to be like? I'm going to make smaller projects with other people where I don't have to do the code or the art. I'm going to do contract work. I'm going to slowly work on the next big project, which is going to take forever. So I survived Pomg, and like I survived it. So like postmortem, whatever, insert joke. Oh yeah, here's another what I learned. I learned that someone telling you stuff in the talk is useless. I knew about all of these problems that I just talked about from talks, and I still ran into them head first. I'm going to do it again, but hopefully on a smaller scale. So yeah, make stuff and try to survive. Thanks for your time. That's it.